you call her your crazy baby mama, but she's the one raising your kid.
Right.
You know, and you haven't gone through any, through the court process or anything to try and get custody of this child from this crazy person. And that's a lot of times what happens. So let me be the judge of the crazy.
What's up, y'all? It's Ashley.
I'm Fee.
It's Melody.
And Cody here, and you've tapped into
The Mama's Den.
Welcome to the Mama's Den.
The Mama's Den. Okay, I would just like to say Den.
The Mama's
You know, I'm creative or whatever.
But of course,
The
you must
Mama's Den.
be watching us on YouTube to see the Den. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, y'all gotta
So
stop
today we're super excited because we have a guest. We have a guest in the Mama's Den, Miss Erica Grace. Erica has an interesting story where she has turned pain into purpose, and we are here for it because it will help us all. And so we're going to unpack that story. But first, how we doing? How y'all doing?
I just got in trouble by Melanie.
Tired. Like, I'm over here just like a cat.
I just got in
happening?
trouble
What does
by
that mean?
Melanie. I told y'all to stop saying didn't know. She said,
Ashley just, she wants the
yeah.
smoke today with everybody. I'm just like,
Ashley, when do you get your braces off?
a bitch. Oh, goddamn.
I asked her that yesterday, and she was so mad. She said, "You got one more time to ask me about the braces."
That was your one more time.
Well, all right, we'll see what happens next. But Erica, you came here from New York.
Yes.
well, you know what? She's used to this energy.
I am.
Yes.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you just got here, and you
Yes.
were mentioning how wonderful and exciting it is to be here, but that's not how you put it.
No, I said it's surreal.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's surreal to,
cute.
thank you, to watch people, to be part of you all's lives on the other side of several different screens, and then to be sitting amongst you. It's like, it's surreal.
Aw, way to make us
So
have better
basically,
energy.
you feel like we're Beyonce.
There you
What you're
go.
trying to say.
Absolutely.
we could be the Beyonce's of podcast.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
Yes.
We're happy that you're here. We're
Yeah,
so happy
truly. Yes.
to welcome you here and to have a conversation about co-parenting and dating as a mama and lots of other things. And so should we jump right into your journey to this conversation? Because, there's some, you're here for a reason.
I'm here for a reason. So, I wrote a book called Marrying a Parent, a roadmap to navigating the journey of marrying a parent. And it started 6 years ago with me as a stepmom. And I come from a nuclear family. So once I was in it, I didn't know what I was doing. And I started calling friends who were also in step-parenting families, and we were just commiserating with one another because none of us knew what we were doing.
When you say in it, already married?
Already married. My then husband had a 4-year-old daughter. She was 4 when I met him, and 5 when we got married. We had a newborn when we got married.
Oh, wow.
And it was a journey that I was not prepared for. So we got married in 2017. Started dating in 2015, and then 2018 is when I started writing. Just like a list of different things. This is weird. How do we navigate this? I would talk to friends who went to premarital counseling. No one touched on this. I talked to friends who went through premarital counseling through their churches. No one touched on this. So I'm like, So I start talking and interviewing, and what I did was I started interviewing adult stepchildren.
Okay, hello.
Right.
Ashley too.
See?
Me too.
See? Because I wanted to know what their journeys were like. Like, I have this stepdaughter. How do I prepare myself to present well in her life and be there for her in a way? And the stories I was hearing were alarming and different. There were people whose parents never pre-warned them.
Yeah.
It was like, this is your new dad now. He's
Oh,
moving
wow.
in.
That happens to my husband.
Dang.
Yeah.
How traumatic.
Traumatic. So I was trying to figure out, just work through that kind of stuff. And then that was 2018. I was doing interviews here and there and just kind of brainstorming all the things that could come out of this. Black Love was also one of the things that started this. We were watching it, and I'm like, it'd be cool if they did a series on interviewing step parents because I need some guidance. I need some help with this. So it was birthed. And then I got laid off from work. I got a new job. COVID happened. I was pregnant during COVID, bad pregnancy.
Second pregnancy? Like,
Second pregnancy,
okay.
little girl. And then it kind of just, it's in the back of my mind, but nothing's happening. Well, last year, my life flipped upside down. And as a way, as its own therapy and just as a cathartic way, I just opened up and I start writing again. Because I say to myself, how did I get there? How did I get here? How did this happen? And I said, there was no boundaries here. There were no boundaries in this relationship. There were no boundaries between my then husband and his daughter's other biological parent. And here we are. So I'm just writing. And it's coming out. And I'm like, this is good. Like, this is ready. This is, so I get an editor and we just start working through it.
what was the catalyst to that heavy writing?
The catalyst to the heavy writing was my relationship with my stepdaughter's mother was quite tumultuous from the beginning. And my husband had an affair with her. Yeah. So we had just moved from Long Island to the city. I had just gotten my dream job. I was excited, finally moving to New York City in Manhattan. And 2 months into the job, I found this out. And I was done. So
And you have two littles at that point.
two littles, and a bonus daughter who's young too. Everybody's feelings to be considered. Things that had happened in the past, I couldn't do it anymore. It was, how can I be married to you when you still have to co-parent with this person? Now everything's gonna be stressful. Every
yeah.
time you drop her, I'm gonna be on edge.
Yeah.
Every time you communicate, I'm gonna be on edge, and it's not gonna work. So when I found out, I made the phone call. I know what you're doing. It's not safe for you to be home when I get there, so you probably shouldn't be there. I tried to call them on three-way. She didn't answer right away. She calls me back. Hey, girl. Okay. I said, hey, what's up? I know you're screwing my husband. I don't know what would possess you to do something like that, but you got it.
That's your man now.
That's your man now. And she didn't say a word. And this is somebody who I've gotten texts from, racist texts, all types of texts for years. I haven't heard a peep from her since April 10th of 2023. Wow. And so that was the pancake, flip your whole life upside down. And I just started writing. And it helped me. That and the job, it just balanced.
Yeah.
Because it was like, God was like, all right, shorty, this is gonna be some rough times, but I got you. So it kept me balanced. So.
I love that you said it's gonna be some rough times, but I got you, because I feel like when I decided for us to separate, me and my co-parent, I could just hear God saying the same thing, like, it's gonna be really hard, but I got you, and I'm gonna be here with you, you know. So I love that a lot.
Yeah. And only when you listen do things go smoothly. It's, to me, when you ignore that voice that things are rocky. And I love that you said co-parent and not baby daddy.
Yeah, no,
Why
I
is
don't.
that?
Because when people say my baby daddy or my baby mama, to me, it's you putting ownership over that human. Like, it's possession.
Like
still.
mine.
It's still yours. That's your kid's father. So I would date people. I've dated people, maybe one or two people before this with kids, and a guy had his, the child's mother, my BM, in the phone, and I'm like, your BM?
Right.
That's your son's mom. Can she just have a name
Right.
Yeah,
in the
right.
phone?
I never thought about it like
It's
that.
it's very true,
Yeah.
but that's even like when I talk about so I'll say co-parent or I say like, oh, my children's father.
You always
Yeah.
say that.
And one time
Yeah.
I remember something happened where it was like baby daddy, baby mama, and I was like, I'm your children's mother.
Yeah.
Like I need you to understand that.
Yeah.
Because it does. And it also just kind of I feel like especially in our community, in our culture, it kind of also has like this negative.
It does.
You
Yeah.
know,
It
like,
does.
and then you always think too, okay, baby mama, baby daddy. It also sounds like there's kind of like an incentive behind it, you know? Well, I mean, in your case, sis. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, but that's not even, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not what it is.
Yeah.
So, yep, I feel you.
So now it's been like a year. How are you all like? What, do you have a relationship still with your
Ex-husband?
Well, obviously because he's the father of your children, but the daughter,
I had that question.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So in the book, I wrote a chapter called "Don't Throw the Baby Out with the Bathwater," because there had been an affair 2 years prior to this happening,
Okay.
and I don't know if I'm just not built for this life of sticking around.
Girl.
But when I found
that's
out, it was
okay.
the same thing. Like, hey, I know what you're doing. You gotta go. I can't do this
Okay. With someone else, not him.
with him.
Oh, so he's just, yeah, he
This
got
was
like
the
a
second
lustful
time.
spirit or something?
Girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what? Me saying that?
No, it's right.
Oh.
It's
Yes,
right.
yes.
It's right. It's right.
I was
It's,
agreeing. Like,
it's
girl.
absolutely right. So at that time, we were separated for 4 months. I
Okay.
think had it not been for just people in my ear and therapists at the time, like, you have to work on your marriage. You can't work on your marriage apart. That is the only reason why I was like, fine, if I have to. But my spirit was still like, this is not right. Because it's disturbing to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's messing up with your peace of mind.
It's disturbing.
Yeah.
And
you
the
were
thing,
also juggling new children.
she was 13 months.
yeah, girl.
Wait,
was-
so your baby's 13, your baby was 13 months when this was happening?
The first time.
Wow.
She was 13 months. And it wasn't until the other day a friend of mine had a baby and she started worrying about her weight. And she said, and I feel like you shouldn't worry about that until a baby hits like 2 years old. Then at that point, you want to start working on your body, do it. But I was like, the baby's 13 months and it like hit me. And then I see pictures of her and they're babies at 13 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn. And this is 2021 May. So this is out of COVID. Like, felt like the marriage was wonderful during COVID. And so anyway, we were separated for 4 months. And I just felt like she became collateral damage to that. You know, she's not coming around as much. They're talking about things in front of her. The therapists are like, you got to worry about yourself. But the whole time I'm like, this is not right.
Yeah.
This is not right. This doesn't feel right. Like, I've raised this child since she was 4.
Yeah.
So this time around, oddly, a few days before I found all of this out, she was at the house. And we were talking. We were just laid out across her bed.
How old is she at this time?
She's 12.
She's 12. Okay.
And I brought it up.
She can know.
She can know, right? So she was going through some things at school, and I said, you know, you always have to take care of yourself. I don't care who it is, family, friends, don't put anyone before you in a sense that it makes you feel small or it makes you question the things that you know don't feel right. And then I brought it up and I said, you know, one thing that I did against how I felt was when Dad and I separated. And she says, you know, Daddy never talked to me about it. And I apologized to her.
Yeah.
I said, it didn't feel right. And I said, no matter what happens, you'll always have a bed in my house, no matter where. It's still there now. She will always have a bed no matter where I am. I raised that child for 8 years. So it's, again, something that's not talked about. What do you do with this relationship when a step parenting marriage ends?
Yeah.
But also your littles are girls too,
1 boy, 1 girl.
and they're all siblings. I
They're
mean,
all
there's
siblings.
something to be said. You can throw the bathwater out, but there's something to be said about continuing that relationship for the kids. or
Absolutely.
the relationship with all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Because
Yeah.
I'm obviously, well, not obviously, but my well, my dad cheated. That's how I was born. And lovely birth story. But
No wonder why you're. Just kidding.
You know, I got that look. Where the wine?
no, don't bring the wine. No, but one of the things my mother made sure of is that we had a relationship with our, I don't really believe in calling them half siblings, but with our, siblings, is because of that. Because she was just like, at the end of the day, like, you need to have a relationship with your siblings.
Yeah.
And no matter how hurt she was, my stepmom was, like, that they just like put their guard down
Yeah.
and just decided to have a relationship outside of my dad, because
Yeah.
it was like, he ain't facilitating nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's hard, but as a grown woman, I'm so grateful for it, because it would just be weird to not have a relationship with my sibling, especially someone that they've lived with for how many years,
Correct.
So do you have to facilitate that relationship, or does it happen when they're with their dad?
So because her mother was the affair partner, it made it very, very difficult.
Of course.
Right? Because I've done my best to shield her from this part of the story. It is the truth.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I don't have to get into the details of it all. But because of that, I've still had to have a certain amount of respect for her parents in this journey, mainly her mom. I know. So we will message each other. I'll still reach out. My son has now started to reach out to her on his iPad.
Her, meaning his sister or
His
her?
sister.
Okay.
Girl.
Got it. Okay, just checking.
They know. And she'll ask for me.
Okay.
We'll chat. And now the kids don't want to go there unless she's there.
Yeah.
But she's a teenager now.
Yeah, so she trying to do her own
So
thing.
she doesn't, she wants to be with her friends. She's at that age.
Yeah.
So I told her the other day, I can't wait until you get a little older and you can get on the train by yourself, because I would love for you to just come hang out with them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think for you, it's going to be a lot of pride swallowing, obviously,
Yeah.
but you were going to have to be that connection for them and maintain that relationship.
Yeah.
And as she gets older, you can have more honest conversations. I mean, my parents did, and at this point, it's like, there's nothing I can do about it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But like, it still allows me to have respect for my stepmom too, just understanding what she went through and having to look at the child.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? And I'm at her house all the time. So I get it. It's just really hard and very complex.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious. I mean, I know you wrote the book, and I believe build a platform, right? So marrying a parent is a website, and so how have you been thus far, like engaging other parents or communities in the conversation around stepchildren and parenting? Because I mean, I think it's a really important conversation to all of us, or at least, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Melanie, but like, Ashley and I are both children of divorce, and Felicia too, and also she's a co-parent. And so I'm just curious, how have you been communicating with others in this time? And what does that look like going forward?
It's a lot of engagement through just reaching out, because I realize it's a very, very touchy topic. So it makes it even harder to talk about.
It's necessary.
Yeah, super necessary. Reaching out to people directly on social platforms, following people who I know are in this community so that I can engage with them, having conversations with stepchildren. And that's what I wanted to do, build this community, have an annual event that incorporates blended families, allows kids to come, because my children went from being in this, nuclear family to not. And I'll never forget when the first little friend came over and said to my son, "Where's your dad?" And I felt like, And he goes, "He doesn't live here." And the kid goes, "Okay." And then they run and play. And I'm like, damn, like that hurt me more than it bothered him.
Yeah.
But to have other people around to understand, like, we're all on this journey. These kids say, my dad went out for the milk. And I'm like, where did you get that from?
Who says
That's
this?
so old school.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And a friend of mine, her 12-year-old said it to her dad. So I said, this must be something they're seeing.
Yes.
My 7-year-old said it. I said, what do you mean the milk? Yeah, Mom, he went out for the milk. And I
This
was
is like a euphemism? Like what?
Yeah, you know, it's like oh, my mom went to get cigarettes and never came back. Like it's like, that's like the story. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
last I knew, she went to get cigarettes or went to the store and then didn't
Never
come
came
back.
home.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
that's an old
At
saying.
seven,
That
I
is
was-
a very old school
That
saying.
is very old
Right.
school.
Yeah.
That's why you went to go get milk.
Yeah.
You ain't never come home.
So I said, you know, we're gonna have a milk room for these kids, and they're gonna bake cookies together. But something to have them, you know, come together
Yeah.
and have people around them that understand their
Yeah.
journey. Stepmoms understanding each other's journeys. You know, stepdads, co-parents as well.
What was the conversation like with your kids when you had to have the conversation about divorce?
So I keep taking these big, deep breaths because what I would have imagined, it didn't go that way. I would have sat down and said, you know, sometimes people make decisions, adults. I would have never pointed the finger at their dad, but the way we operate is a bit different. So I said that, and then things really erupted. Things got really bad. And I only talk about the affair. I don't talk about a lot of other things that happened because to me it doesn't have anything to do specifically with marrying a parent or dating somebody that has kids. But not in front of them. But my experience was really difficult. So he moved out, and I don't know, they seemed to just ease into it more than I thought they would. I think over the past year and 9 months or so, they've asked once
Wow.
about it. Oddly enough, my son said to me it was weird that it was in the ether. My son said to me a few days before, Mommy, I don't like the way Daddy talks to you. I don't like the way he talks to you. I don't like the way he talks to me. So we had this conversation. So it was almost like I was being prepared for what was to come. Yeah.
What do you think about the idea of parents staying together for the kids' sake?
I think I did that from 2021 to 2023, and I don't think it's the best idea. I think maybe if you're the best poker player and able to front and mask it, then go for it. But these kids are super intuitive.
Yeah.
They're all up in your energy, especially to the moms because they've lived in your bodies.
Yeah.
And they know when something is off. They can hear tone change, they feel energy. So I don't know if it's the best idea to stay in a marriage where there's especially any kind of abuse. Get out.
Yeah.
But if you all don't see eye to eye financially, maybe, but not for a situation like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
What, if anything, has been a good resource for you with your children? Have you all done therapy? What do you feel like you need to do to better support them or transition them in this process?
Yeah, for sure, therapy.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. So
Yeah.
immediately, I'm calling the schools. I got him a therapist. I'm sorry. My daughter was too young. She was 2, going into 3. No one would even see her for therapy purposes.
Really?
No,
I didn't know that.
no. It was even hard to find for my son.
How old was he at the time?
He was 6.
Wow.
So I found someone and the person was great and whatever. But then he was going to the school counselor as well. All of that was difficult because it just meant I had to let everybody into my business.
Yeah.
So at the time, you know what, just do what you have to do
Yeah.
for support for him. I was in therapy. I was seeing 2 therapists at one point to help me get through this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want, so my feeling was this marriage isn't working, but those are your kids.
Right.
I'm not trying to step in between you and them. You can be, I talked about birds nesting. I'm like, you can live really close. I'll go to my sisters or my moms. You want to come see them, stay here so they don't have to be moving all over the place.
Oh, is that what birds nesting is?
Yeah.
Oh, so the parents just leave the house whenever the other parent is there. Oh, that's
Which
riveting.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Because even now, they're like, I don't want to go over there because their stuff is not there.
Yeah.
But I think if he was there, they'd be fine. They're in their atmosphere. They have their little moments where they want the whole family together. But I think that would have been better than this, but it was like vehemently, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. So I prepped myself, my mental health, and his, and just allow him space whenever he's feeling anything
Yeah.
to talk.
I have a question. So, because you found yourself from the beginning, even before you had children with your ex-husband, marrying a parent, and this has now become the focus and the passion of your life, and being in that space, is there anything you look back on and recognize as far as what it is to marry a parent? Like some of the red flags, some of the green flags, some of the things that you're just like, oh, now that I'm aware of what it can be, I ignored this, or I should have looked out for this, or I would advise other parents or people to look out for these things as well, and to, discuss these things ahead of time.
Absolutely. So first thing is, I wrote this book. This book is not about co-parenting. It's not about blended families. It's about preparing yourself to date and marry a parent.
Oh.
It's a dating guide. And then to me, a recalibration tool for people who are already in the marriages. Boundaries. So I wrote about boundaries. That became really the crux of the book. I was going to say meat, but I know people are vegan, so I have to say crux. Because one of the boundaries, so of course there's several boundaries you can have: communication, friendship boundaries between exes. My very first boundary is meet the parent,
Meet the co-parent.
meet the co-parent.
Before meeting
Yeah.
The child.
the child.
So you asked about flags. There are a lot of flags that you should look out when you're dating someone with children. How many people do they have around their child? How often are they with their child? Are they financially supporting their child? Doesn't have to be court ordered. People get so hung up on the word child support, and it literally means financial support for the child. If you're dating a guy or you're dating a woman and she loves to spend money on herself, or he loves to take you out on these dates and he's not financially providing for his children, that's a red flag.
Girl, bye. Girl, bye.
If he's got time to spend with you, but there's no parenting time, you can't tell me when you're with your children, problem. He or she is an every other weekend parent, and every other weekend when you have your kid, you're with me, flag.
Wait, let me say something real quick. So one of my homegirls, she went on a date with somebody not that long ago, and he has 2 kids. And so she's, telling me about the date, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, yeah, but he left his kids at home. And I was like, girl, red flag.
Well, how old are they?
8 years old. Mind you, we would do that when we were younger, but I'm like,
We lived in a
no.
different world.
Yeah.
No, I'm like,
24.
absolutely not. A little boy, and it's nighttime.
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, no. So then fast forward, she was like, I just didn't see the flags. I was like, girl, the flag was there.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to see it. I'm
Yes.
like, friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Never.
Yes.
No.
I have a
No.
question for both of you.
Not for a
Felicia
date.
And Erica.
Not for a date.
Child.
Our parents did that to go to work.
Yeah, right.
Girl, because they had to. Like, what?
You mentioned though,
Ghetto.
like meeting the co-parent before the child.
Yes.
If that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
right? Is that a deal breaker, or is that a conversation? Like, I also have a friend who definitely met her partner's child before the co-parent, and I know some of the reasons for that. But I do remember, hearing from you in email form and seeing that one line, like, meet the co-parent first.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
So is it a deal breaker? Like, can we recalibrate after that?
Okay. So I had an event, like our inaugural event for marrying a parent, and this question came up.
Okay.
Because it's triggering for
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who have met their partner's child first. So there's some caveats. If you've been solo parenting this child for the past 7 years, you don't need to go dig up their parent to meet.
Yes,
don't need
fair.
to do that. If the child is off your payroll, you're not taking care of them
Okay.
financially anymore. Maybe the child is not a child anymore. They're 21.
Sure.
Anybody under the age of 16, or say the first few years of teenage years when you know that you're still heavily parenting them, you should. And here's why. First, it's a respect factor for everybody involved, especially when it's the custodial parent. There are a lot
Yeah,
of people
fair.
who are introducing their new boyfriend or girlfriend to their kid when the kid lives with the custodial parent. This means they're always with them.
Right.
It's also a way for you as the person coming in, so I call them the singles, you coming into the situation to see how these two people interact.
Yeah.
I missed that. I think I would have seen a lot had I been around the two of them early on.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in my mind, I was thinking I could see how it could be jarring for some people because every circumstance is different.
For sure.
And some
Yeah.
people, I always think it's a red flag when a person is like, specifically, we'll just talk about men, right? When they're like, oh, my baby mom crazy or da 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 da. That might be true in some cases where I can understand where it's like, I'm not introducing you to her because she doesn't cooperate. This is just chaos and there's no point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's toxic or he's
and
toxic.
and that
whatever.
could be, but like in some cases, as you said, I do find it odd when a man introduces a woman to his child that is normally with the mom.
Yeah.
The mom has no idea.
Right.
That's weird because then you're gonna come in and she's gonna be like, who is this around my child?
Yes.
And sometimes women will take pictures. You know, so now you've built this whole relationship with this child. You're posting them on social media, and then the mom is like, who is this? That's not gonna make for a good blending.
Especially
No,
if
it
you're
was-
a
it was
present
set
mom.
up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't set up properly.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, especially, okay, so I also think that I'm glad that you wrote this book because I think that it's a space that we don't know how to navigate naturally. It doesn't, I mean, just like with parenting, it doesn't come with like a rule book or anything.
Right.
But there are certain things that it's like, that's not okay. I know when my children's father, when he's married now, but when he had his partner, and you know the kids would express like, oh, daddy has this, I would call and be like, okay, so what's up, like is this person gonna actually be in your life for a while, like asking. But I also knew how to investigate
Yeah.
and figure out what that was. And thankfully she's great and was very respectful. She wasn't like a challenge or anything, and was very understanding. But I think it's such a like, there needs to be a rule book. Your book.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's confusing, you know?
it is. And
Yeah.
to your point, you call her your crazy baby mama, but she's the one raising your kid.
Right.
You know, and you haven't gone through any, through the court process or anything to try and get custody of this child from this crazy person. And that's a lot of times what happens. So let me be the judge of the crazy.
There you go.
100%. That's
Right?
fair.
You're
100%.
extremely emotionally intelligent. I could tell. Just your thought
thank
process
you.
of like the thought before the thought before the thought. Like,
Yeah.
that's a cool sentence, but what about these 4 other things, right?
Yeah. And understanding that you might have somebody who you might say to your ex partner, your child's parent, I want you to meet somebody, and they might say no.
Right.
Yep.
So you give them that ability.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's okay.
And trust that you are picking a good partner who will also understand the dynamics of that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
I love that you said that. I remember I had to get to a point of, I have to trust that their father, first of all, their father is an amazing father, right? I had to trust that this person has made pretty good decisions throughout our lifespan of knowing one another. And I have to trust that the person that he is choosing is also going to be a good choice, you know? Like at some point I had to be like, okay, Felicia, don't get caught up on things that you can't control and really
Right.
look at the big picture, you know? So
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Your children are away from you. You know, that first, however long it takes for you to get settled and used to it. Thinking about holidays when they're not around, it's difficult, but you have to lean into that. And what also occurred while I was writing is I had to acknowledge where I messed up.
yeah.
And I messed up there. I wanted to meet her. I got no, she's not right. But it was sprung on me when I met her, but it's still my stepdaughter, but it was wrong. It was wrong. And you can talk about red flags. I think a lot of times people talk about things and it's always about the other person and what they did wrong. And when I dial back, I'm like,
Yep.
no, that was not a good move.
Yeah.
That was a mistake on my part.
Yep.
Do you think if that happens, the single should then say, I've met your child now, whatever those circumstances were, I really need to meet this person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was your question. Yeah. I think it is a way to recalibrate. And then have a conversation with the child's other biological parent, the one that you're not dating.
Right.
And say, you know, I don't think that was the best way for me to meet them. Can we meet up and have a cup of coffee? Because all a parent wants is to make sure their kid is safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
To make sure you're not having conversations around the kid. Make sure I'm not, one time, again, I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
7 years, one time I'll never forget, and I wrote about it, the mistake I made when I talked ill about her mom. And it was just like, as it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, why did you say that? Like, you've always taken the high road. So
Human.
I was about to say, girl,
Yeah.
you can give yourself a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
You have done enough.
Yeah. I
Thank
mean,
you.
It's and also I think too even that is a teachable moment to be able to have that relationship with your daughter, your stepdaughter, and to say, you know, like, hey, like I'm not perfect and I'm accountable, and out of regardless of whatever the personal dynamic is, that's still your mother and I have respect, you know, for that reason. It is a lot. It's everything is a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the beautiful thing I think about your purpose of what you're doing is learning
Yeah.
through the experiences, through the falters,
Yeah.
through the hardships,
Yeah.
and helping encourage other people to transition and go on this journey with a little bit more wisdom and experience.
yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we have a listener letter.
Oh,
Wonderful people write us
Yes.
letters
Okay.
and questions on Instagram and on email. On Instagram, if you're interested in writing us a letter, we're just DM us at the Mama's Den podcast.
There you go.
And then for emails, podcasts
With an S.
at blacklove.com. All right, here we go. Who wants to read it?
You can.
Okay. Hey, mamas. My fiance and I have started to talk about how soon we want to have kids after we get married. To be honest, I never really thought that far after the wedding, even though I should. I'm just living in the moment, trying to be present. During our conversation, he asked me if I thought my parents' divorce influenced the way I might raise our kids. If we were ever to break up. Ooh, okay, jumping right to it, sir. I'm not sure, but it's definitely got me thinking. Wondering if you all ever thought about how the family dynamics you saw growing up shapes how you raise your children, or do you do something completely different?
Ooh, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Actually, 1,000%. So because my parents weren't together, but they were best friends, I never wanted to get married. I always I just want to have a baby with my best friends because my parents had so much respect for one another. They never talked bad about each other. Even though my dad didn't live in the house, my mom would still make us call him sometimes to ask him permission for certain things. And so for me, it always made me want to be like really good friends with the person that I have a baby with. And I feel like I mirrored that. Like my husband and I were friends first before we got married. And I think about that, like the deep level of respect that the two of them to this day have for each other. I've always was like, okay, that's what I want. Whether I'm with the person or not, we have to respect each other and be friends. So 1,000%.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the same thing. I definitely feel like I think just the way that I was raised and the way that my mom did things, the way that my stepdad did things, it definitely shapes the way that it's interesting. Even when I choose partners, I'm like, dang, I choose men that are probably more like my stepdad. But it's just changed a lot of different things for me. So I would say, yeah, for sure, it shapes the way that I parent and make decisions.
What about you?
Same. My parents were married until my dad passed. So that's why I wanted to stay in the marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when I thought about it, I said, I had a healthy upbringing.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure they have a healthy upbringing,
Yeah.
not
There you
just
go.
two parents in the
That's
household.
what
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my parents and my husband's parents are still married to this day, and that was one of the things that we actually bonded over and kind of really connected on, is that we felt like we came from the same type of love. I will also say though that even though our parents were married together, both of us I think have communicated what we have learned and held on to and cherish, and what we also are willing to unlearn. You know, because I think with every generation and every relationship, you see a lot of yourself and your programming naturally from your parents, and they're just kind of like, oh, I remember seeing my mom and dad go through that. I don't want to do that in my marriage. So, you know, it's a balance, I think, of learning and unlearning for me.
For me, my parents' divorce, I don't think it impacts the way like their marriage and subsequent divorce don't impact the way I parent as much as my learning about them after the fact, which I have said many times. Like, I was able to get to know my parents, I think, during this critical phase in their lives when they're figuring things out as a newly single parent. And I had a one-on-one relationship with them. So I've always wanted to raise my kids in such a way that, like, we see each other, even when they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. We see each other as human and can have all the conversations. And so that really influences the way that I parent.
I like that.
And what I want for Tommy, like, regardless of whether he wants that.
I know that's right.
So yeah. Okay. So Erica, tell us about, like, when is the book available? Where can folks get it? How can we be a part of the community that you have created?
Yeah. So the book came out on National Step Family Day, which was
Oh,
September 16th.
16th.
Yeah. So the book is on the website, which is Marrying a Parent. It's 2 P's, because my whole thought going through this was, marriage isn't as a parent or marrying a parent.
Oop.
It was like, this is different.
I love a double
That's
entendre,
deep.
honey. Yes.
Yeah, so it's marryingaparent.com, and it's the same on all socials, at Marrying a Parent on Instagram. And so I love to talk about this topic.
I do too. Wait, can I just throw in, like, I haven't read it yet, but I hope that folks of all ages who are co-parents or entering into a marriage with someone with a parent read it. Yeah. My biggest qualm was that my father got remarried when I was in college, or maybe right after college, and I felt like, I'm still your baby. Yeah. Like, I want an opportunity for you to, like, care what I think, or, you know what I mean? Like, and he kind of just did his own thing and was like, this is my girl, y'all. And so, but my feeling was very much like, I still want to be a part of that journey with you. Yeah. I think you should care, not necessarily whether I like her or not, but to bring me and my sister into the process. And so that's something that I hope older parents, like, keep in mind, that, like, your babies are still your babies.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is she still in your life?
No.
Girl. No.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
That's a story for another day.
This, though, I will say this. Thank you for coming on. And this is a topic that I didn't even realize was a topic, you know? And I think it's really important. I also think about, like, single friends. Yeah. You know, single friends who are, you know, in the dating world. Because I know, like, there's a certain part of your life where you're just like, oh, I'm never dating somebody with kids. But then you get to a certain age and you're just like, baby, everybody got kids. So you got to be prepared. Yeah. So I think it's also a really good resource for people who are dating or still looking for their partner. Absolutely. And it's a good, like, you don't, you know, you don't have to be married or unmarried or whatever. Just, it's a good dating tool in general.
It is a good dating tool. There's questions at the end of every chapter to start those uncomfortable questions, those uncomfortable conversations with people that you're dating, to ask, to get into it.
Yeah. I love this.
But to your point, it was funny because I finished writing the book. I felt like something was missing. And I ended up interviewing one of my best friend's daughter, who's 20, and a double-step kid. Because they said, this is what's missing from here, their voice. Because those are still your parents. You want to have a say in what's going on. So it is for singles, dating parents, it's for solo parents, step parents, and step kids.
I love this.
It's amazing. So beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Last question. When's your birthday?
February 3rd.
Come on, Aquarius. All right. You know, we always got to know who's on the
that
couch.
Makes so much sense. My mom's an Aquarius too, and when she out, she out. And we're done.
And on that note,
we're done.
We're done.
We're done. That's a wrap.